Hey guys, how you doing today? Cold, dreary, rainy day today, and even more than that, on top of that, I woke up this morning and I knew I was going to be depressed this morning. Uh, listen, a millennial who's talking about depression. How shocking, how surprising, right? I actually don't hear people talking about depression that often, so I guess I'm providing a service in that regard. I was diagnosed with depression when I was very young, and every morning since then, I've always woken up and done like a checklist. And I have had experiences in my life where I have the depression has broken. It's like come out like a stupor, and it's only then that I've realized that at the time I was even in a depression. And so I created a checklist for myself, a morning checklist that I go through and just like, how am I feeling? How am I doing? And this morning, the checklist agrees. Yeah, it's a depression, but a mild one, and probably will pass soon. And the, but I think it's common now. Like I think it's common now. I always think it was common. You know, I always think it was that people fell into depressive states or had anxiety in them and all of this, but it was always just sort of dismissed. And it's only recently that we have even been permitted to say to one another, like, hey, this is a significant phenomenon that exists within the human consciousness, and it should be taken seriously. Um, and I mean, I feel like there's all the reason in the world to be suffering from anxiety and suffering from depression, and I feel like if you are suffering from those things, I think you're fairly normal. Like, I think it's normal to feel depressed in a society that refuses to acknowledge, you know, basic human decency and basic human decorum, where the people who are fighting hardest to reform the system that we live in are asking for less than even our parents got. Like, somebody asked me to really take a look at the resolutions that the NDP were passing, and the NDP are like, yeah, $20 minimum wage, let's do it. Forget 15, $20. And I'm like, if the minimum wage kept up to the rate of productivity, the minimum wage would be $25 per hour. So why are you asking for less? Right? Why are you asking for less? Why are we perpetually putting ourselves into this position where we're asking for less? Why are we even listening to our society any longer? Our society, a third of the society is denying that climate change exists. A third of the society wants removals of basic support systems. Like, they want to start evicting people. They want to increase homelessness. Like this, we are a failed society. Like, our society is a failure. And is it any small wonder that a half the population doesn't vote? Like, is it any small wonder that half the population doesn't stand up and say, and exert their power? Like, I see these kind of clips all the time, like the editorial cartoons and things like this, where it's like people saying, oh, if I go out and vote, my vote won't matter. But it's absolutely the truth, right? Listen to these people who are talking to us. Like, they're talking about the most mild, tepid, pleading, reformist, like, and guess what? Even if we got a $20 minimum wage, even if we got a $25 minimum wage, you know what your life still looks like? You wake up, you go to work for somebody you've never met, doing a task that you can barely tolerate. You go home, you get 2 hours to yourself to watch some shitty television that doesn't acknowledge the plight or the situation that you're actually caught in. You do that 5 times, you get 2 days off so you can do some chores, and then you repeat it over and over again. Guess what? You get 10 days off vacation so that you can go cry into your cups about it. Right? Like, and this is the society. Yeah, I can't imagine why people aren't going out in droves and fighting and voting. I can't imagine why people aren't rushing as hard as they can to the ballot box to vote for small, tiny, insignificant piecemeal reforms to their lives, while everyone ignores the fact that we are enslaved to a system that benefits a tiny group of oligarchs who do no work and provide no value, right? Who do nothing whatsoever of worth at all. And in fact, when they actually do anything, it's incredibly detrimental to the society. Like, Of course we're depressed. Of course we have anxiety. Of course we find ourselves in a situation where we like, I hear all the time, like, oh, well, why isn't the left mobilizing? And it's like, what are you fucking talking? Like, we first of all, we are trying to mobilize, right? But you're essentially ignoring that there are like large institutionalized systemic forces that obliterate organization on the left, right? There's a long history of this kind of thing where like, for God's sakes, like, Martin Luther King was outright assassinated by the American government. And we're not supposed to talk about that, right? Malcolm X was literally assassinated by the United States government, and we're just not supposed to talk about it. We're not supposed to acknowledge that, like, some of the most prominent figures who have existed on the left and some of the strongest leftist organizers in the history of North America were outright assassinated by the government. Like, oh yeah, let's just not pay any attention to that, right? And like, as if the capitalist class is just going to allow us to organize, right? Like, do you know what they're actually doing? They're like buying the name communist, right? Like, there are communist parties that exist all over the country, and guess what? They're all owned and operated by capitalists who sit on the title, right? They still like put the communist name on the ballot, right? So that all of the communists can be like, oh yeah, I want to vote for a communist, and they'll check the communist box, and it'll just funnel into nothing. It just funnels into nowhere, right? And we're all supposed to just completely ignore this. It doesn't happen. It's not real. What are you talking about? Oh wow, what a big conspiracy. Like Doug Ford stood up in front of us today. He's probably still chittering away, right? Talking about how much he actually gives a crap when he completely doesn't, right? Like, and a third of the populace is still on board with this. It's very difficult for me to keep doing this, right? Right? Please, like, for God's sakes, leave a comment. If you're listening to this right now, I really need people to be leaving comments in the comment section and encouraging this and doing what they can. Just anything. Like, put an exclamation point, for God's sakes. Like, we are living in a declining empire where a third of the populace wants it to decline more rapidly. Another third of the populace wants the decline to occur under the Liberal Party and wants it to have a nice little smile on it. And then about 15% of the populace wants to beg the capitalist class for scraps. This is our politics. This is our political structure right now. Yeah. So if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, you should. Like, you should. And you shouldn't apologize for it. Fuck these guys. Like, these people are worthless. Like, our capitalist class is worthless. The system is collapsing. We're gonna and all of the struggle and all of the difficulty that we've been putting up with this COVID stuff, guys, it's for nothing, right? It's for nothing, right? Everything that we have done up until this point has been for literally nothing. We're still going to be dealing with this COVID stuff in a year's time, right? Because of our incompetence and stupidity, not only as on the highest levels within the political parties, but as a people. Like, we literally were saying to one another that it's up to individuals to deal with their own individual problems. If that's what you believe, then you cannot see ideology. If that's what you believe, then ideologies don't exist in your worldview. And so when you fall for pernicious, evil ideologies, they maximize the damage, right? And that's what we've been saying to one another for the last 40 years, right? Oh no, it's up to individuals to figure out their own problems and all this kind of stuff. Well, here comes a problem where we need collective action, and we can't do it. We can't do it, right? We don't have the ability to do it. We've been so brainwashed and trained to abandon one another and to just ignore your neighbor and to ignore everybody around you, right? And to pretend as though that the problems that they're facing are isolated and individual instead of the result of an actual system that's designed to perpetuate and generate these problems. And you're never going to hear any politician stand up and say any of this kind of stuff, right? They're never going to do it. Like, where are we now with Jagmeet Singh, right? Jagmeet Singh is willing to say that we're not in this together. Like, we're not in the same boat. We're in the same storm, right? That's the level that he's willing to go to. But he'll never be willing to say the capitalist class is fraudulent, their wealth is built on colonialism, and it should be removed. Right? It should be removed. Like these capitalists have proven to be sociopaths. They are not interested in helping us. They are not interested. They're not interested in confronting things like climate change. Right? They're not interested in any of that. And so yeah. Forgive me if I have a day where I get super depressed about it. Forgive me if I have a day where I have trouble getting out of bed. Like, forgive me if suddenly I have a panic attack. Right? While I'm supposed to get all my gear together and put on a mask so I can go, make lattes in the middle of the peak of a deadly pandemic? Like, we are a lost culture. We have lost our minds. We have lost our souls, clearly. We're selling it for money. Like, shut this place down. I don't know how. I don't get why this is. Well, I mean, I do get why it's so hard, because 5 people need to make $1 billion, right? Like, you can't just shut the place down, or else 5 people won't make a whole lot of money, right? If you shut the place down, 5 people won't make a whole lot of money, and we might have to, not have Amazon deliver us stuff. Like, for real, there's a guy pulling up here right now. Some kid just gets out of a van, right? He's wearing a mask. He's wearing. Fuck that. What are you talking about? Stay home. Stay home, right? Like, we no one in the government currently, and no one even running for power, right, gives a crap. Gives a crap at all. And straight up, my opinion of Jagmeet Singh is the only reason he says what he says is because the people who are voting for him are telling him to. That's it. Like, I don't believe that guy has a fighting spirit. I don't believe that guy has the desire to actually fundamentally change the system he's operating in. If this guy could get into power saying puppies are cute and I love them, he would, right? It just turns out that the people who are his core electorate are saying, hey, we should have a $20 minimum wage. And so he's like, okay. And so he's just going to go along with that, right? Like, for goodness sakes, if the NDP do not form as the tip of the spear of their campaign the basic income, these guys are lunatics. Like, you've got to be kidding me. and I don't hear anything like that come out of the NDP, right? I hear tiny little piecemeal reforms, tiny little almost insignificant. Oh yeah, 10 days sick days, 10 days sick days. Yeah, make sure you sell yourself to a guy that you'll never meet, but we'll get you 10 days of sick days. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit at all? Like, who gives a shit at all? We don't value our time at all. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only commodity that matters to us at all, and we don't value it at all. We're selling it for $20 an hour. Go fuck yourselves. Like, Jesus. This system needs to be dismantled to the ground. Like, it needs to be dismantled to the ground. It's based off of monarchical kings and queens. The capitalist system is a slave system that is attempting to enslave us while we beg for scraps. Fuck it. Fuck that. Like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting watching. It's exhausting to participate in. It's exhausting having to go around and pretend like, oh, hey, everybody, yeah, everything's great. No, it's not. Like, no, it's not. Everything's not great. And I gotta tell you, like, and I don't care if the death cult calls me lazy or if the death cult says that I don't, or I'm bitter or anything like this, but I don't want to participate in this, right? We're destroying ourselves. Like, we need full, large-scale general strikes. We need to get out onto the street and have a prolonged, never-ending general strike. We need to shut this place down, and we need to say to our political class, we are not participating in our own destruction. Because that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. While we're doing it, we're thinking, yeah, let's rally behind the NDP. We'll give us the $20 minimum wage. So instead of the capitalist class who's grinding us into perpetual slavery giving us $15, they'll give us $20, and that'll make everything better. There's a reason 50% of the populace doesn't vote. There's a reason 50% of the populace doesn't vote, because they know they wake up and go work for and sell themselves into a slave system, right? And no one's going to change that, right? And it doesn't matter to them. 10 sick days, okay. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Oh, I'm gonna make extra, what? Like, so some extra money will go into my account, I guess. Okay. Like, I've got my rent, I've got my food, I get to drink beer and smoke weed. Like, I get a video game every so often. Like, oh, okay, so I'll get a little bit more money in my bank account. I'll get some sick days. Okay, that'll be nice, I guess. But I mean, and I doubt the political class will even do it, right? I doubt they'll even do it. They've never done anything for me before. I don't know why they do anything now. What people want is their freedom. They want their freedom from this ridiculous system. Like, and the system is ridiculous. It's destroying itself. It's going to continue, and it's going to get more obvious, and it's going to get more in your face, right? Like, the mask is coming off. These guys are not going to continue pretending. They are going to eventually just start ruling like the conquerors and the colonizers that they are, right? They are eventually just going to tell you, like, well, too bad. Too fucking bad. Like, go to work. Like, get to work, right? They're going to do that. They are going to make you work jobs that are going to destroy the society. They're going to do it. And we're going to watch them do it. And we're all going to maybe whinge about it a little bit, but we're not going to do what we need to do, which is create a prolonged general strike. And when I say prolonged, I mean, like, months and months and months. I don't believe that the capitalist system can be reformed. I don't think it can change. I think it's a dead system, and it's just shambling around like a zombie, infecting everything it touches. And we need to be rid of it. We need to be rid of it fast. But, nah, forget that. We'll just destroy ourselves, right? While a third of the population denies that it's happening. Unbelievable. So, I know I'm feeling depressed. I know I feel like shit today. You probably do too, especially after listening to that. But, like, at least we know who our enemies are. And at least we're acknowledging that they are our enemies, right? That to me is, like, one of the worst things, is that the literal sociopaths who are destroying the society the most are pretending like they're good somehow. Like, they are not. Like, if you are voting conservative, if you are in the Conservative Party, if you are involved at all with the Conservative Party, you are a villain. You are evil. You are on the side of the darkness, man. Like, Darth Vader, Voldemort, Satan, pick your villain, you're with them. Absolutely, and it's made even worse that you're clutching onto a book that tells you to act exactly the opposite. I know you all are doing wonderfully out there. I know you are. You're all trying your best. God bless you, you are. I know you are. But it's like we're all swimming against a waterfall, right? Like, we're all clinging onto the edge of a cliff while water pours down on us. And the best that we get is somebody saying, oh, well, let's make it so slightly less water pours down on you, right? They're not saying let's get you off the edge of the cliff, right? They're not saying let's rescue that guy who's over the edge of the cliff. No one is saying that. The Greens aren't saying that, the NDP aren't saying it, the Liberals certainly aren't, and the Conservatives want you to go over, right? Nobody's interested in that. The best that we'll get is, well, we'll make it so the water doesn't flow so hard. So when you're in that situation, I know you're doing wonderfully, right? I know you're doing wonderfully. You're doing the best you can with the circumstances that you've been handed. And I know you are. And these people who are telling you to, stand up straight with your shoulders back and bootstrap yourselves are fucking sociopaths. You don't need to listen to them. You don't need to listen to them, right? You are wonderful. You are doing the right thing. These guys are spending hundreds of billions of dollars to gaslight you and put people in front of you who are telling you something different. And there's a reason that they're doing that, because they know that if you actually stood up and said, why am I begging for scraps perpetually? Why am I continuously begging for scraps from a capitalist class, instead of saying, let's eliminate this capitalist class because they're worthless, because they provide no value, because they offer absolutely nothing to the society, right? They spend hundreds of billions of dollars to make sure that you don't connect those dots and that you feel bad for thinking it in the first place. And it's bullshit. You're a beautiful person. You're wonderful. You're doing great things. You're making good decisions. You're doing the best you can in the circumstances that you have. And you should keep doing it, and you should keep following your heart, because you are a divine being that has been put here for a divine purpose that only you have access to, and only you understand, and only you know. So follow it, and keep following it, and never let it go. No matter how much money they pour in to the coffers of people who are paid explicitly to tell you to do the opposite. Good luck. We're going to need it.